What's going on, everybody? Welcome to this week's show, the One Amazing Life podcast. My name is Chris. I am one of your co-hosts on this show. I will be introducing the rest of my co-hosts and my guests this week on the show. We're super excited to be here. We're coming at you live from Southern California. And for those of you that are new tuning in, we want to welcome you to the show. This is a show where we talk about different things. We talk about what it's like to be a teenager nowadays. We talk about spirituality. We talk about past life experiences. And the whole point of it is to kind of just get everybody connected on why we all have one amazing life and how today is a day that we can all share in that. And we definitely welcome all your comments and things from around the world. So if there's something you say, please write it down. You can send us an email. We'll give you all that information later. But basically our thing is just, we're humble servants, and we just want to talk about the things that we're going through today in hopes that we can connect everybody and share in this one amazing life. To my right, I'm going to pass it off to my other co-host, and then we'll introduce our guests and get started on this week's show.
Hey, thanks, Chris. I also got to let everyone know that Chris is looking good again today. First episode, he was looking good. Today, he's got a little bit of yellow tie thing going. He's got that collar that's white, almost like a priest.
Almost.
But not quite. Yeah. Almost there.
I can be a priest on radio. That's a good gift, right?
There you go. My name is Jamie. I'm a youth worker here in Southern California, and I'm excited today that we get to spend some time with three amazing high school students who decided to give us a little bit of their time today. And one of them is Kai, who I want to introduce to you. So go ahead and take it away, Kai.
Hey, everyone. I'm Kai, and I am in 10th grade, and I'm super excited to be on this podcast. I'm not totally sure what it's about, but I'm excited to see the energy, and happy to be talking about prayer and stuff around joy and Christmas season.
Perfect. And you know what? None of us really know what it's about. We have an idea, but, before the show, I prayed about it. And so we're going to let God direct us, and we'll see. Maybe what we want to talk about isn't what he wants to talk about.
Amen.
So we never know,
Chris.
right? That's kind of the fun part.
I'm Ben, and I'm in 12th grade. Fun fact, I am a skateboarder.
Okay, that is a fun fact. What's your favorite skate trick?
That is kind of hard to say. There's a lot.
Give us, how about two?
Kickflip and tray flip.
Tray
Okay.
flip, all right.
Yeah.
Can you just real quick tell, what is a tray? What does the board do in a tray flip? Because I always throw that out to people, like, do a tray flip, and they look at me like I'm crazy.
Okay.
What is it?
The board goes in 360-degree motion, and then it flips around, but all in one motion, like at the same time.
Wow.
For those of you that aren't here in the podcast booth with us today, Ben just eloquently demonstrated this kick or tray flip move with a high C juice box. So it was very informative. Thank you for that hands-on.
That's how
thing.
the pros do it. I'm
It is,
pretty sure.
yeah.
When they
That's how it all
test
starts,
out new
right?
moves.
Juice
You gotta practice
boxes
with juice
are
box.
a huge part of skateboarding.
Absolutely. Smart.
I love it. Okay. And finally, we saved the best for last.
Hi, I'm Abby, and I'm a freshman. And a fun fact about me is that I do not skate, but I swim and I play water polo, which I just started a couple weeks ago.
Yes. Our water polo star.
Yes.
Can't wait. We're going to come to see you at a game, and that's going to be super exciting.
Love
Okay.
it.
Perfect.
Cool. We got juice boxes. We got water polo. And we got Kai,
Yeah.
who isn't even sure why he's here.
He's not. It's the element of surprise.
But I'm glad that he's here.
I love the fact that he's here.
Perfect.
So today we're going to start with prayer, right? That's one of the things we're going to talk about, and we're going to talk about the whole thing about why we pray and how we pray and things like that. But Ben, I want to start with you. What is your daily prayer routine, or do you have one?
I do not have one, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, we're being honest, so thank you. When do you find yourself praying? Is it moments of
I usually find myself praying in good and bad moments, I would say. Like, when things are going good, I usually try to thank God for the things that are happening. And when things aren't going as good, I usually ask God for assistance or some way of, like, watching over me in a way,
Cool.
I like that.
if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't have a prayer routine, but I pray before tests. I find myself praying a lot in times of stress when I'm stressed out. And then I pray before bed sometimes when I can't fall asleep. I'll be laying there and just start like praying that like I'll ask God to help me fall asleep. And then that actually usually puts me to sleep. Yeah, believe it or not. You should try it.
I do believe it. I mean, I
Yeah.
think that's our first witness that prayer actually works.
Yeah.
Testify.
Right? That we got a witness here. Can
Yeah.
I get a witness? Abby has a witness to prayer actually working. Fantastic. We just got started. We've been doing this, like a minute and a half already?
That's great. You know, sometimes, Chris, I pray in church, and when I actually pray in the service, I put other people to sleep.
Really?
Yeah, yeah.
Now, that's impressive, I guess. I mean, I wouldn't say that about you necessarily. I love it when you pray, but I can see, I think people might already be on their way to sleep, and maybe just kind of help them. Maybe it's your voice.
Put
It's
them
so
over the
soothing.
edge.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, there you go. All right. Who else? Who's
Kai?
up? Kai.
Okay, so I had a prayer routine. Normally, I always have a prayer routine like a month after we come back from our summer camp because we're like close to God there. But almost every time, I just fade away from that routine. So, and I try to pray as much as I can. Whenever I realize that I'm not praying enough, I try to pray more. But mainly, I pray in like times of doubt or if I feel like I really need something or am not so certain about something, I need God's discernment in. I just really like a path to follow.
Kai, that's a great thing to talk about, and I wanted to bring that up as well. Can you go into a little bit more detail about what summer camp means to you, the camp that we all go to, but I'm sure obviously people all over the country go to camps throughout the summer. Well, what does that mean for you, and how do you find God at camp, and what do you think also maybe kind of takes you away from that once you come back to the house? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, really, the main reason I went to camp in the first place was mainly for like friends and socialization, and you really get wrapped up in God's love there because that's the main focus, and it's you're basically away from every other thing that's a distraction, and you really have a solid time to focus on God and how to reach out to Him and how He's always there for you. And when you come back, it's pretty hard to keep that connection because you have all these other distractions and things that that's pulling you away, and it's really hard to focus on Him. And it's so much easier when you're at camp to focus on Him because it's you and Him, and you get a lot of alone time with that. So
Nice. And if you don't mind sharing, what's something that you've prayed about at camp that you really felt was something you would have never accomplished had you not been in that situation, spending that alone time with God? Is there anything you can think of?
I know I've prayed a lot for a lot of things at camp. Mainly, I feel like I have more of I'm trying to think, like better vocabulary and knowledge about what I want to pray about. It's easier to actually come up with things that I really need, like more than just like a test or something. Things that are more big picture in life that are easier for me to really like have a big point to pray about rather than little things. But I mean, I can't really remember anything that I really like prayed about that made a big difference. Like that, if I wouldn't have prayed about it at camp, I just know that I have. I feel like I have a clear head when I'm thinking about what to pray about at camp. So
I would say, from what I'm hearing you say, it's almost like when you're at camp or when you're out in nature, you actually see what God's vision is more for you a lot clearer.
yeah,
In a normal day.
it's a lot easier to think about the things that are really important between me and God and for the whole world, really.
Oh, I love that.
Cool.
And what do you think it is when you get back that tears you away from that?
I mean, there's just so many. Like, there's school, there's sports, there's other things that I want. That I'm thinking about when I'm here, and then when I'm at camp, it's just a whole nother world. So, it's like a whole nother bowl of distractions and everything that are just pulling you away from the main purpose of camp, which is to be with God. And you try to bring that back, but it's pretty hard to hold on to that.
Cool. Hey, I want to ask Ben a question. Ben, this is going to go a little bit deeper. Are you ready?
Yes.
You think you can do it?
Yes.
Okay, good. What is the last thing you remember praying for? And be totally honest.
I remember praying for my mother. There is she has this brain condition that causes bleeds, which is not very good, and it's called angioma. And I just was worried about her, and I prayed about her, and that to help get healthy, I guess.
Yeah. Wow. What a great prayer, man. Abby, same question.
Well, mine isn't as big of prayer as that, but last night I was hosting a Secret Santa, and it was just like a lot of stress. I don't know. I don't really like hosting things, but I just had to pray that it was just lots of stress. I was just like, God, please help me do this, and I hope everybody has a fun time. And yeah, it's not as big as Ben's prayer, but it was still a prayer.
Yeah, that's a great prayer, too. Stress is a big one when it comes to prayer, man. Big help right there. And we pray to God, and He takes away, or at least helps take away some of that stress when we give it to Him, yeah.
It is. And, in a minute, Jimmy, I want to ask you a question about prayer and maybe some things that you could help people, and then I'll ask all of our guests as well, kind of tips they could give. But, Abby, one more question for you, and that is, being a freshman in high school is tough, right? I think all of us sitting here at this table and probably sitting around the country listening to this right now, I'll remember going into a new school and it's being scary, and you're kind of considered the lower class or whatever you want to call it of your different school, and it's a scary experience. And I'd just like you to talk about a little bit, have you used prayer honestly when you go into school or for situations, or have you seen it work, or have you felt kind of the presence of God when you go in, just knowing that hey, you're here in a school of thousands of kids and it's scary, and what is that?
Yeah, at the beginning of school, it was a lot different because in our district we have lots of different high schools that you can go to. So a lot of my friends went to my close friends went to different high schools, and I had to pray to God that I know it sounds kind of silly to, well, not silly to pray for, but for friends, because a lot of them went to different schools and stuff. And I also had to pray for good grades, because I feel that's a very common prayer for a lot of people to pray about. And I was really stressed about my grades. I still am. I feel like everybody is. There's lots of pressure on kids in high school to get good grades, and yeah, from everybody, parents, teachers, and I had to pray for that a lot. And also, I feel that's those are the two main things that I prayed about. I can't really think. Well, there's probably other stuff too, but that's all I can really think about.
Yeah. I love how you say that you pray for other people. I mean, that's one of the things I pray for every day is every high school kid, right, around the world, because I work with high school kids as a youth worker. Like Jamie said, I love working with high school kids and middle school kids, but mostly I work with high school. And it's I pray for you guys every day because it's tough, right? And the pressure to get good grades or great grades and get into college and do all these things that parents and teachers and everybody kind of expects for you to do can be overwhelming. So I really like that you're focused on that in some of your prayers, and that you know where to go with that. I think that's awesome. Kai, what about you? Right? How does prayer interact with you at school?
I would have to say that it's pretty similar to your point. It's when I came to my school when I was a freshman, a lot of my friends went to different schools as well, and it was a pretty good freshman year. I made a lot of new friends, and we got close. So mainly, yeah, I wasn't praying. I was praying more for school. But then this year, a lot of my friends kind of drifted away. So now, yeah, I'm praying more for friendships and relationship stuff. But also, pressures of trying to get good grades and a lot of studying. And I know that the finals are coming up pretty soon, so just praying for to keep stress down and try to focus on really studying mainly. Yeah.
Nice. I like that. Ben, how about, like I've actually heard Ben pray, and I think he's amazing at it, and because he's just such an honest person, and prayer is really just is talking with God, you know what I mean? And he does a great job of that. And how about helping out the other people that are listening that maybe feel like they don't know how to pray right, or maybe they don't, they don't feel like God ever listens to them, or things like that, through no fault of their own. Just, a lot of people have fear around prayer, and I don't understand it, but like everybody has that one day where it's like, I don't think this is really working. Why don't you tell us what you do for that? Like how do you decide what you're going to pray for, and how you let it fly, right? Like, do you write down a speech? Do you do cue cards? Do you just let it go in the car, on the bus, on a skateboard? Like, how do you do it, man?
I love the cue card idea. That's
White Christmas or white elephant gift right there. Prayer cue cards.
Well, usually when I'm praying, I usually focus on the stuff going on in my life and the people around me's lives. And like at one youth during towards the end, we usually go around in a circle and like have prayer requests and stuff like that. So I usually try to be honest with God and ask for assistance with the issues they're dealing with, and whatever I'm dealing with at that time, I try to be honest with him as well and ask for assistance, and I try to thank him for the things that I have at that moment in time, and the things that are like going around that are positive, to end on a good note. Other than that, I just let it flow, honestly. Just be honest with him.
Nice. And Abby, question for you, kind of the same question, but also, do you pray out loud or do you pray silently, or a variation?
I usually play silently, except for at the dinner table. Like before we eat dinner, I pray out loud sometimes. But I don't know, I feel like it's more stressful to pray out loud and like versus in your head, because in your head only you can hear it. But then when you're praying out loud, you feel pressure to use a bunch of big vocabulary and stuff. And I don't know, be proper.
I like that. Talk a little bit more about that. What is that like when you're praying out loud and in your relationship with God, and you're worried you're going to say the wrong thing?
Yeah,
Whereas in your
because
head, you're
I
not.
don't know what to say. I had to make myself sound, I don't know, not that I had to sound smarter, but just I have to use bigger vocabulary. I feel like when I pray in my head, God can hear my thoughts and he knows what I'm going to say. And it's just a lot easier to do it in my head. And it's more natural than saying it out loud.
Do you think that's because most of the prayers that you've learned growing up were from adults? And like you feel like they nailed it perfectly, and so you're like, I can't remember what they said.
At the dinner table or like Thanksgiving or just like every day, like listening to everybody else, their prayers just sounded so much more eloquently spoken than mine.
I love it, and it's true, because if we probably ask like a 10 or 11-year-old like, what are your prayers? They probably think that your prayers sounded great. They're like, I don't. Abby knows how to pray really good, and they're like, I'm not good at that, right?
It's like comparing yourself to other prayers.
That's so true. Kai, what about you? Are you a silent guy? You like to scream it from the rooftops? What do you do?
I mean, normally when someone is praying, like Jamie or you or a leader's praying, and we're in a whole group while they're praying, if I have some things I want to pray about, I'll pray about that silently in my head. But normally when I'm like alone, I'll pray out loud, I would say. I feel like it's so much easier to pray in your head because I don't know. I feel like it's almost like you get better words in your head when you're praying in your head. You feel like you're using more words that go deeper into the prayer, that make the prayer seem more important. And then when you pray out loud, it's just a bunch of like you get like all stuttered up. For some people, that happens to me a lot too. And I would say just I do both out loud and silent, but I would say normally out loud. Yeah,
I like that. Ben, one of the things that I know when you talked about how you prayed for your mom, I mean that was really awesome. It was a beautiful prayer. What's something I kind of want to go a little bit deeper with you guys here too, and what we're talking about. But what's something that you all three have prayed for. We'll take our time with each of you, and it just didn't come true. Like, and you felt like it didn't happen, and you were like disappointed.
It was this is my first time taking my driver's test behind the wheel, and I prayed really hard the night before, and then like right during it, like very hard, and then nothing came from it. I failed miserably, but I guess that's uncontrollable by God. It's my fault, so I don't blame him. But I don't. It was out of my it was my control. It was out of his control. I guess it was my fault. But it's not. Yeah.
Let's go deeper on that real quick, because I think you bring up a good point. Is prayer a reward? I mean, do you think of like prayer only as a reward? Like, okay, God heard me this time, so I got the A on the test, and then if I don't, then it's my fault. Like, oh, I didn't study, or I let God down, or I mean, what's underneath that?
I don't think it's a reward at all. It's with things pertaining to us and like us physically, like what we can, our abilities. It's completely up to us. But for things uncontrollable of us, I think that's a good thing to hand up to him and ask for assistance on, I guess.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
And I'm assuming you took the test again, and I
Yeah.
know that you passed the test again, right?
Yeah.
Did you pray the second time? I'm curious.
Yeah. I
Same
did.
prayer,
Uh-huh.
or did it change at all?
I just asked for assistance again, and it worked because I kind of only passed because of events uncontrollable by me, by other people, because someone was tailing me behind me the whole time and my following me to see the route I took, and then my driver instructor was focused on them the whole entire time. So
Jesus took the wheel, I think.
Jesus took the wheel,
quite
right?
literally.
Yeah.
Jesus was tailing you the whole time.
And then
What car does Jesus drive, Ben? Just,
What kind of car does Jesus
I couldn't
drive?
tell you.
Ben was so petrified. He was just like, wow. So he shows up right when you needed him.
But yeah.
In the shape of an annoying driver. You never know where Jesus is going to be, right?
Yeah.
That's why we always have to remember, man, treat everybody the same, because you never know where he's going to be, right?
Yeah.
Abby, what about you? What's one thing you can remember praying for that just didn't happen, and how you felt about that?
When I was younger, I used to wish that I could become a fairy, and I would pray.
I love
Become a
that.
fairy.
Yeah, I really
Alright.
was like obsessed with fairies, and I used to pray to God that He would turn me into a fairy. And obviously, that never came true.
Well,
What exactly is a fairy? Like what did you think is it like a tiny little creature with like butterfly wings that would like
Yeah, I used to pray
what was
that.
the purpose for that? Like, did you want to like sprinkle dust on people and make their lives better?
No,
or did you
I
just
don't-
want to fly around like?
Well, no, I don't know. I used to read a lot of books about fairies,
Sure.
and I really wanted to become a fairy so then I could fly.
Wow.
Well, I don't know how God's going to answer that one.
Yeah.
But, you know.
Well, I mean, I think she's kind of like a fairy tale around here. She's always positive. You know what I mean? She spreads
Okay.
light
All right.
and she spreads
Okay.
joy to people. So
Thank you.
I think maybe he answered it, just not the way you presented it. And I think that's also another key point about prayers. Sometimes the things that we ask for show up, and we think they don't show up, and then we realize they're like, oh, well, everybody else noticed that. I just didn't notice it because I was so focused on the way I wanted it to look. You know what I mean? Interesting. Kai, what about you, man? What's something you can remember offering up to God that just didn't come true, or maybe happened in a different way?
Well, I broke my ankle over the summer, and
remember
yeah, and so I was doing a lot of praying about healing quickly, and like when I got my cast off, that there wouldn't be any extra problems. And for the most part, that was true, and even after it was still, I couldn't really run on it, but I could walk on it, and I was still praying for like full recovery. And then and then I started like going on runs again, and then got jacked up again, and I needed like a little bit of support and like a brace, and it's still kind of a nag, but so it hasn't like healed fully, and I still pray for the health of it a lot. And I think part of it is maybe my own stupidity that I'm not like really, really giving it a break for it to heal, because I am like normally really active on it. But yeah, I mean, I'm just waiting for it to like completely, fully heal. So I'm still waiting on that with God.
If I remember correctly, Kai, and I could be mistaken about this, but didn't that affect you at camp?
Yeah, that did a little bit. I think that, I wasn't able to play can.
That's right. I had to pull the youth pastor boss card and say, "Sorry, kid, you're not going to play this super violent game with a broken leg."
Yeah, that was a bit of a bummer, but completely understandable, because there's my own little stupidity coming in again. I have this ankle that's all like twisted up inside, and I'm trying to jump around and run around on rocks underwater with it. So,
right.
I mean, I'm probably glad you stopped me from that, but yeah.
You know, I can't believe that just came to me, because I was thinking about that, and it's just funny to think about. It's like, what if you would have been at camp and wouldn't have had that ankle? Mm-hmm. Would you have actually had time to contemplate what God's vision for you was, instead of you running around like a madman the entire time? Because I know you, and you got all this energy, and you know what I mean? I wonder if that was God's way of slowing you down enough to where you could have that moment with him, in nature and at camp, to actually get focused on what he wanted you to do. Just a thought. I don't know.
Yeah, no, maybe. And I think that Jamie telling me not to do that maybe was like acting God trying to answer my prayers of my ankle being healed. Like, if you think about it, like through you, you told me not to do it, and
I guess I should have told you not to run. I don't run.
Yeah, there you go. Well, yeah.
I love it. Let's flip the switch on this then. What if we have times where prayer that wasn't answered, but obviously maybe it was answered in a different way? What's something that you guys really prayed for? Maybe just something in your life. It was a test, or it was a sick relative, or it was something, and you just knew the minute you prayed for it that like God's hand was on it. What can you think about that? Kai, we'll start with you.
Trying to think. Oh, okay, yeah. So I was praying for my grandma a while ago, because she got like she has like this skin cancer that keeps coming back and off and on, and it's kind of all around. And so I was praying for that when I found out, because I was pretty sad, and this was probably a year ago. Mm-hmm. And so I was praying for that, and it went away, and then that was great, and I stopped praying for it because I thought, oh, everything's great, and then it came back, and so I prayed for it again, and I was pretty much like every night I was just praying for it, and then she recovered again, and there's been no signs of it ever since, and so I'm super happy about that. I think God really worked and really put his hand on her with that, because she's not she doesn't have the healthiest lifestyle of anyone that's pretty of that age. Mm-hmm. So I was really, really hoping that cancer would kind of die down, because that was just an additional little thing like bugging at her health, and it's just not going to help, and it went away. So I'm super glad. I think God really helped her with that.
Nice. Abby, what about you? What's something you prayed for and just right away, like, you just felt good, or you knew that your prayers had been answered?
Okay, so over the summer we went to Greece, and we had just gotten our rental car, and my stepdad drove it down an alley, and like the walls were super narrow, and he got the car stuck in the alley, and it was like it was like a brand new like super nice BMW, and he was like, and we were
Dad,
like,
what are you doing?
yeah, he's gonna like, and like it got stuck, and like it was literally stuck, like he couldn't like put it in reverse or anything. It got stuck between like two like walls.
And you guys are like stuck in the car.
Yeah,
Like,
and
you
it was
can't open
yeah,
it.
we
can't
couldn't
get
open
out.
the doors,
Yeah.
and it was like it was like grease, and like
Yeah.
it was like okay. Anyways, and then I was praying super hard because I was like, I don't want. We're gonna have to pay like a lot. It was gonna be like a lot.
You're like,
and I
there goes
prayed
the
super
college
hard.
fund right there.
Yeah, I know. And
got
there,
it.
okay, there was like an inch space. It was like an inch space between us and like the alleyway. And by like some miracle, this local came and he was able to get us out right after I'd been praying. Like we'd been stuck there for an hour and we tried to like put it in reverse and everything. And then after I prayed, this local came and helped us and we got the car stuck out of the alleyway with almost nothing on it. Like no dents or anything. No, it was crazy. And that was like, I was like, that was God. Like I knew.
That was
no, I
God,
knew.
right? Wow.
I knew.
That's a good one. Wow, I like that. And it's international too, which means that we know
Yeah.
God is everywhere, right? It's not
He
just like
is.
in the
That's right.
States, right? Ben, what about you?
We were coming from Carmel Valley heading towards Solana Beach to get some like lunch or something, and then my friend decides to go in his Audi, and there's this turn where people like to go really fast around and
Does
like
it have a name? Sometimes turns have names.
Yeah, right.
no, I don't.
Dead man's curve.
Suicide Hill, like all those kind of things. Yeah.
I don't think it had a name, but
Okay. Does it have a name now?
no, not
Okay, good,
It's
alright,
just
good.
it's just that one
Gotcha.
turn, and but so he attempted it, and he overturned his car and he drifted. He went on the other side of the road and like almost hit a car, but I was just kind of thinking, this is it, like I'm done for. And then I kind of said a little prayer in my head, and I opened my eyes, and we were fine somehow, miraculously. He somehow got out of it in some lucky term of events, and we did not crash. Nothing happened. We made it out alive. The car was fine as well, in case any of you were wondering about
Worried
the
about
car.
the car.
We definitely were. You know, one thing that I would like to bring up, you know, because you guys all have a similar experience with that, but Jamie and I share another experience, and I would like to just spend a few seconds on that, sharing with all of our listeners right now, because I know out there somebody's probably going through this, and I think this will help you. And that is, you know, about a year and a half or so ago, my dad was diagnosed with cancer, and me and my father hadn't necessarily been that close in my adult life, and so when he said that, you know, and I instantly say what I always said, I'm like, Dad, you know what, I'll pray for you, and you know, and I know because I'm praying for you that you'll get better. You know what I mean? Like everybody, not everybody, a lot of people get cancer, and you know, and they'll find the right things, and it'll be okay. And that was not the case for my dad. You know, within you know, they said we'll give you 3 to 6 months, and literally 90 days later, so within 3 months, yeah, you know, he got an infection, and he was dead in a week. You know, and it was a blessing that God had put us back in each other's lives in a positive way, and that so you know. And we also knew that he had the cancer, so everybody was able to say goodbye to him. It wasn't just like he woke up with a stomachache one day and all of a sudden, like, nobody knew. But that was tough for me as well, you know. And it wasn't that I didn't think God didn't answer prayer. I just didn't see what the benefit was at the time. You know, I was more concerned, I guess, with myself and thinking like, you know what, God, why would you do that? Right when we started becoming friends again, I feel like, you know, whatever could have happened. But you know, in a way, it definitely turned out to be a blessing because I know that he's not in pain. And when I saw him at the very end, you know, it's not fun to see anybody that's really terminally ill or has cancer or anything going through a tough time, right, where they can't take care of themselves and eat and things like that. So I'm glad that he's not suffering anymore. But I want Jamie to share his experience with that because I know it's very similar.
Yeah. So you mentioned like the big C word, right? Cancer.
Yeah,
So
right.
my dad has terminal cancer right now. He's had it for about a year, and a year ago they said that he would have about a 6% chance of making it a year. And so he's made it a year, and so kind of the prayer at that point wasn't like, God, heal it, make it go away. I mean, that was definitely, at times that was a prayer that some of the family members would give. My prayer in the whole time was, Lord, give me some more time. I just want a little more time. And so God has answered that, but at the same time, he's kind of taken some bad turns. It seems like he's going downhill. We don't really know what the future holds with it. But I do know one thing is that through all the prayer, my family, people who are surrounding us, even people that have known my dad for years, are praying and connecting with God more now than they were a year ago, because they're seeking the Lord for something. So there's kind of that old, like, classic, wall framed footprints in the sand story thing. Probably everyone's heard it, right? The whole idea of it is when it seems like God's not there at all, when the prayers aren't being answered, it actually is God who's holding you up, and who's holding you up in the time. So an interesting thing about that is about a month before I found out that my dad was sick, we had no idea it was coming. I was just out on a walk, and I'm like, Lord, I just, I feel weird. Something feels wrong. God, just give me some wisdom, help me out. And almost audibly, sometimes like God will say something to me. It's not like I hear a voice. It's just like I know something, like something just clicks. And God said, I got you. That was it. I'm like, God talks like that? I got you? I'm like, what? And so I held on to that phrase, I got you. And so kind of in the last year, it's just been this like, God's got me. I don't know what exactly that means, but that's been really helpful for me, just power to keep.
I love that. One thing I would kind of like to maybe end our show on, because I know we're running low on time here, is I'd like to go around with you guys and not really hear about what you're praying for yourself or your family, but who is it that you guys want to pray for that is listening to this show? Because I know people are going to hear this show and maybe think that, well, I'm still not good enough to pray, or God doesn't answer my prayers. And so I want you guys to pick out a demographic of people or somebody that might be going through something that you've experienced, and just make a commitment on today's show that, you know what, I am going to pray for these people every day for the next 30 days, let's say, right? Because that's what it takes. Just, it's something that I think would be a great commitment. So when people know that somebody out there that maybe they don't even know or have never met actually cares enough about them to pray, and maybe we can start some kind of prayer circle or prayer support group, right? And somebody else is like, I'm going to pray for that same people that are going through some tough times. Ben, let's start with you.
Anyone that is going through a tough time with a family member suffering from addiction, perhaps, because it's a prevalent topic in today's society, and in my life. So I will fully be praying for everyone for at least the next week, because it affects all of, well, I probably cannot say all of us, but I know how it feels, and I can fully pray for you if that's what. Yeah.
No, it's perfect, and I think that's great, and it does affect everybody. I that's part of what I do as well, and I rarely meet anybody that doesn't at least have somebody that they know or somebody that they care about dealing with that addiction in many different ways. So Ben has got addiction and family people covered.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Cool.
Kai?
I was just thinking about praying for people that have doubt that things are never going to get better, because that's such a hard thing when you're so low. You just think, man, how is it going to get any better from here? And people that, whether that's doubt in succeeding in their life, whether that's doubt that they don't see God. Right now they're so low they don't even understand how God could be there for them, because it feels like no one's there for them. And that's such a hard place to be in, because it's almost like you have no hope, and that's something that you just have to hold on to. And that's something that I'm going to pray about, is the people in doubt that think things are it's just so hard that things will get better, and that God will give them hope, and meet and see that the meaning and the things that will get better for them.
I love it.
It's great.
Giving some hope. Abby, what about you?
And I want to pray for people who are having some problems with their friends and like relationships like that. I know that it doesn't sound like that like important per se, but you see them every single day, and it can take like a really big toll on you. And when like you're having problems with your friends, like it takes a like really big toll on your life, and it can like lead you into like what Kai was saying about doubt and stuff. Like you start doubting a lot of things, and it makes you just feel really awful. So I want to pray for people who are going through problems with friends and like relationships like that.
No, that's great, and you're right. Like that's the thing, and we have both sides, right? We have some people that feel like they don't have any friends, and they could need friends. And then we have a lot of people that have a lot of friends, and they're always some of their friends are always causing drama, and they're doing this, and they're doing that, right? So, that's we are the people that we surround ourselves with, right, in good or bad situations. So I think that's a great important prayer. Jamie, what about you?
Yeah, there's a lot of things that come to mind for me. I think the big one, and it's kind of all encompassing, but it's anyone who's feeling like they're alone. And that could be a lot of different ways, especially on the holidays. If you feel like maybe you're even in a family, maybe you have your family members who are around, you have people who say they're friends, but for whatever reason, you're just feeling really lonely. Like there's no one who's there for you, no one who's there with you. I want to pray for those people. I've had a chance to visit some people who are in retirement homes, and they got, they're in homes that have, I don't know, hundreds of people who could be their friends who live right next door. They eat meals together, and some of those folks just really feel alone, even though everyone's around. So I just want to lift up people who really are kind of feeling that kind of deep loneliness.
No, I love that, and I think that it's interesting. It really applies to young children and to everybody, like you said.
That's
but
right.
Young children, and then when we get to be older, you know what I mean? It's like you kind of start off alone, and you kind of feel like you end up alone, right? Even though you might not, but it's just the cycle of life.
What about you, Chris?
My demographics, I want to pray for people to have faith in God and faith in themselves. I think just throughout our lives we get so many different distractions or challenges in life that help us, and we quit believing that we make a difference in other people's lives. We quit believing that we're gonna ever really have joy, right? Like sometimes we get that little bit of happiness, but we're not really filled with joy. We don't feel like we don't have a destiny or a purpose, right? And so I'm gonna pray for everybody to have more faith in God and His purpose for them, and kind of be more open to see that. So I'm all about the faith this time of year.
Amen.
Amen. Well, once again, we just want to thank everybody for tuning in to the One Amazing Life show. We appreciate each and every one of you. We love each and every one of you. God loves each and every one of you. And we look forward to talking with you again next week. Everybody have a great day. Take care.